Hey, this is James Francis, and last week I asked my subscribers, what are your biggest questions? So in this video, I'm about to reveal the answers to those questions. Now obviously we had a massive response from this. I can't possibly go through all of the questions that we received. In fact, we received well over 100 separate questions on different topics. So of course I can't go through all of them. We don't have enough time for that, unfortunately. However, I do have a list right here of the 10 best and most common questions that people asked. So let's get right into it. So the first question is, what if English isn't my mother tongue? Although I don't have any problems with the language, I have an accent and writing is a challenge. The only hurdle I do not know how to overcome right now. So that's a great question, but the answer is quite simple. When I first got started in my business, I used to have a really strong Birmingham accent. So in the UK, a Birmingham accent sounds a little bit like this, it's all a bit plummy, and we all sound really alike, and that accent is not very easily understood when you're coming from America, Canada or Australia, which all have their own myriad of accents depending on where they come from in that country or continent. So it's a fairly difficult accent to overcome in that respect, and what I had to do that was to literally just work on it consciously. Right now I don't speak like that, as you can tell. It's something I've had to work on consciously over the years. Now that's the only way of overcoming that. Unfortunately, there's no magic bullet where I can just give you a tip and then magically you'll fix it. It's something you need to work on over time, but keep in mind as well that people don't necessarily care what accent you have. As long as you're giving value to them, as long as you're actually trying to help them, that's all they care about, okay? And that's something I learned just the hard way through doing this stuff, that even though people could barely understand what I was saying because of how strong my accent was and how annoying it was, even now I still think my accent's annoying, but even back then people didn't really care that much about my accent. I had some people say I can't understand a word you're saying because it was that bad, but even then 98% of people didn't even care because I was trying to help them in the content and I was just marketing as I should be, right? So that's the answer to question number one. Hopefully that helps. Now number two is, if I'm subscribed from most, if not all, of the email marketers lists that I'm currently subscribed to, will I be missing out on something important, or am I best or better off that way, not being subscribed to a billion different lists? And the answer is, you are better off not being on 1,000, billion, 100 lists. And the reason is because when you're on all these different lists, you will get very easily distracted by those lists or emails you receive on a daily basis. And by being subscribed to them, you're kind of not being focused on what you should be doing because you're distracted by all these shiny objects. So the question I ask myself when I'm finding myself overwhelmed by email is, with a specific list, am I getting any kind of value out of being on this list? Okay, so am I getting my questions answered? For example, in this video, right? Or it could be, have I learned anything from this person in the last month? Or is there any kind of benefit to me being on this list other than being pitched to on a daily or weekly basis, right? If the person does not provide any kind of value, and of course you want to be fair and make sure that you haven't just missed any kind of value they've provided, but if you look through their previous emails, you get a pretty good idea for what kind of person they are. But you will never you'll never want to stay subscribed to an email list in the fear that you will miss out on something. The exceptions to that rule is if you purchased something from that person before, you will probably want to stay subscribed to their customer list if you can. Select the different list that you're on. Stay subscribed to the customer list because that way you'll receive updates from that product that you purchased. However, most of the time, if you haven't purchased anything from that person, just check over their previous emails, see if they provided you any kind of value. If not, then it's time to say bye-bye and unsubscribe from that list. And that will free up so much more of your time to invest in actually implementing what you've learned so far and moving forward with your business instead of getting overwhelmed by shiny objects. Okay, cool. Number three is, should exit pop-ups be used for visitors to look over other offers on my website or not? So exit pop-ups are a bit of a sore subject for a lot of people. I am in that same boat. I used to use exit pop-ups in my own business as a business owner. Of course, you can look at this from the perspective of the prospect or the business owner. Now, as the business owner, they did work to an extent, but then I found after digging deeper into my data that they actually annoyed more people than they helped in terms of conversion rates. So overall, it actually made a worse result in the end compared to not using them. And that's something which quite shocked me when I found out, when I dig deeper into my conversion rates before of my products, not just immediately, but in the long term, over the course of a few months. I found that I'd actually annoyed people to the extent using these exit pop-ups that they wouldn't really trust me as much as they did before, and therefore didn't want to buy any more of my stuff. So I just stopped using them altogether. So my recommendation would be to not use exit pop-ups. Not only do they annoy people to the extent where they will no longer want to buy from you because they lose that trust or that relationship they have with you because they get annoyed, and but also you will often get banned from the common traffic networks because of using them. So for example, you can't use them with Facebook ads, otherwise they will ban your account. Same thing with Google AdWords. So that's a pretty important reason which I used to stop using them. Okay, so number 4 is for someone who is still new in the information marketing game, should he aim for $2,000 a month and scale up, or aim big, for example $10,000 or $12,000 a month right away? And that's a great question, because a lot of people when starting an online business, they have these big plans, these big ideas, and they say, I want to get to $1 million in sales in the course of 6 months, or something ridiculous, which is a pipe dream considering they have zero experience, zero knowledge, and so on and so on. What I would say is a much more achievable goal, and to motivate yourself more, because as a little side note, when you have big lofty goals that say you want to make $1 million the first year in your business, you see it as a big challenge, and therefore it's easy to procrastinate on that thing because you see it as a lot of work. Whereas when you aim for a little goal, maybe $1,000 a month to begin with, and then $2,000 and then $3,000, then you have more motivation to achieve those goals because you see them as more achievable. Hopefully that makes sense, and that's kind of answering the question as well, but I would recommend achieving little stepping stone goals first, which will eventually lead to your big goal. Now this is something which I talked about quite a lot about 2 years ago in my business before moving on to more important stuff, but when you focus on, say, achieving your first $1,000 in sales, you set up all the foundations, and then it becomes much easier to scale. Whereas when you try to go towards $1 million in revenue straight away, you will need to encounter lots of other different challenges between, say, $500,000 in revenue and $1 million in revenue, which you wouldn't even need to think about until you reach that point. So you may set up a load of stuff that you don't even need to have implemented until you get to $500,000 in revenue per year. So I would say start off with stepping stone goals. Don't set a big giant goal to begin with. Break it down into little manageable goals. That way you'll find it much more easy to achieve, and it'll be less stressful to you. You'll see it as much less work, because quite frankly it is less work to achieve smaller goals to begin with. And people in my coaching program have found that when they set smaller goals to begin with, they achieve those goals a lot faster than they would have done if they were to achieve like a big lofty goal or have that on their dream idea board of things that they want to accomplish. Okay, so hopefully that answered that question. Now the next one is, if money is in my PayPal account, can that be placed on my direct deposit card? So I did want to clear this up, because in a lot of proof screenshots in my own business, in my own sales pages and whatever, and through demonstrations that I give, I say, here's some money in my PayPal account and whatever. But you can actually withdraw that money, and in your business as well, when you're earning sales from implementing the correct strategies, you will often get paid into your PayPal account. Now, the benefit of this is that you can withdraw it to wherever you want. So you can withdraw it into your bank accounts, onto your cards, or whatever. It's really up to you where you withdraw it to. I would recommend withdrawing it to a business bank account, because then you keep it separate to your personal bank account, and it's much easier to just manage things that way, but it's really up to you. I only recently started doing that. Previously it would just go straight into my personal account, but it's really up to you again. But yes, you can withdraw that into your own bank account, because it's not just virtual money, it's money that is actually yours. It's just, think of PayPal as a bank, and they're just like an online bank, if you think of it that way, and then you can withdraw it to your actual account where you have a card to pay for things in real life or whatever, right? So the next question is, can you help coach and guide me to get a $500,000 per year profit like what you've done so far? thing number one, so that's question number 1 of 2. And the other question is it possible to achieve this within 6 to 10 years from now? Great question. And this kind of relates back to what we were just talking about when it comes to lofty goals and setting these giant goals and breaking them down. I would say firstly, take on board that advice to break down that goal into smaller, more manageable goals, because it's easier to achieve your end goal when you do that, because it will motivate you once you've achieved those little goals. The other thing I would say is, yes, it is achievable to do that within 6 to 10 years, because I've been doing this stuff for just over 7 years now. So I'm not saying you will be able to do that. Obviously, my results are not typical and so on, but that's what I've achieved in that time frame. So there's no reason why you couldn't as well if you take the same steps, if you implement as much stuff as I've implemented, because that's what it comes down to. It's not just about knowing the methods, it's about the implementation as well. In reality, if you're as committed as I am, if you're as willing to implement the strategies as much as I did, then there's no reason why you could not achieve that same goal. And if you want help with that, by the way, my coaching program is at 0to10kcoaching.com/apply. I'll put the link on the screen, somewhere on this screen, and you'll be able to go over there and see if that's right for you. Another one is, I have a small niche I wanted to create an information product for. It's an area with very big names in the field. And it's not just an impression that I have, it's an actual real thing that there are some big gurus apparently. I got the question, why buy your stuff instead of this well-known guy's stuff already? Should I be changing niche? So that's a great question, and the answer is no, because if you were to change niche every time you encountered any kind of competition, you would just run out of niches to go into. Because there's not one single niche out there that doesn't have some kind of expert already in there or some sort of established authority figure. There is always going to be competition. That's the nature of business, right? In my niche, I'm not the only person to sell information products about building an online business around your passion or just some sort of topic or niche, whatever. There are other people out there, and I fully admit that. But the reason why people would buy from you over those other people is firstly because of your personality and branding, which we'll talk about in the next few questions as well. But also, the main thing is the personality, to be honest. Why are you watching this video right now instead of watching somebody else's video? Probably because of you built some sort of relationship with me, possibly. You like the way I present content, or you just like the way I am, right? That's just one thing, one reason. Another thing is that you should make your content appealing to people so that it distracts them from your competition. So for example, with this video, I probably would have came up with some sort of angle to approach this video in. It's not just a traditional Q&A video. I may have come up with some sort of marketing hook or angle to separate that from your competition. And the same thing applies with your sales funnel, especially because you want people to opt in for something that's unique to you. I'm not saying it needs to be unique content in terms of coming up with a new concept, but you need to position it, or you need to create it in such a way that it has a marketing hook that is different to what everyone else is doing. So for example, instead of how to train your dog, which is a very broad hook or a broad promise, you could have something like the 5 tricks to stop your dog from barking at the mailman within 3 hours or less, something like that. That is very specific. People can't just Google it and find 5 tricks to stop your dog from barking and so on. And even so, they may not be the same tricks that you're going to be talking about in your free content in your sales funnel, right? So you need to have some sort of hook or angle which is different to what everyone else is doing, and that will separate you from your competition, as well as the fact that you'll be different in terms of your personality than your competition. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, to answer that, just to be very clear, do not change your niche. You will always encounter competition. Just always be sure to make things as different as possible in your marketing that you can, and that's all it is really. Now, question number 8 is, can you recommend another payment processor that works with Wishlist Member? And this person also said that they were having some issues with PayPal. Now, I would say that PayPal isn't usually the issue, it's usually down to the payment processor. So in this case, I would say try Samcart. Okay, that's a good payment processor that I recommend. If you have Infusionsoft, then you can just use the typical Infusionsoft order forms that come with Infusionsoft, but that's quite an advanced piece of software and CRM. Instead, if you are just starting out, if you are not really sure what to use, you can either use Stripe as an alternative. Stripe is a good one, which you can just Google Stripe and you'll find it. Or if you look at Samcart, so that's Samcart, there should again be a link on the screen somewhere about that. but that is a very user-friendly and beginner-friendly payment processor that you can use one-click upsells with, and loads of other cool stuff as well. And it's pretty simple to create order forms with, and also integrates with PayPal properly, so you won't be getting those errors you mentioned before. So it's a very simple software to use. Now, the 9th question is, how do you brand yourself? And another question we had on this same topic was, what is positioning or branding? What does that even mean? What is positioning? What does that mean? You know, is it some weird thing where you stand over here and just that's your position? No. Positioning is how you portray yourself to your audience. So for example, if I was to say that in my spare time, I like to dress up as a dinosaur, right? That, for whatever bizarre reason, that may be part of my positioning if I was in some weird niche. But then if I was to say, you know, my actual positioning, which is I coach people to build a successful online business based on their passion. I've helped people to generate well over $1 million in sales so far in my coaching clients. In my own business, I make well over $500,000 in sales every single year. That is positioning. It's elevating your status to a point where people respect you a lot more, and they see you as having more credentials and more of an authority status. So really, it's elevating your status, that positioning. That's probably the best way of putting that across to you. Of course, you can Google search what is positioning, but that's how I interpret that to be. Now, branding is pretty similar, but not based on authority status. It's based on your personality. So think of branding as your business's personality. What sort of traits does your business have? It could be that, for example, in my videos, I don't like to sort of sit here and go, hello, this is James Francis, I'm really boring. You know, I tend to just, you know, laugh at my own really crappy jokes and just make things a bit interesting for you guys and girls. And that's part of our branding. We like to have fun while building our businesses, and that's just how we are. That's part of our branding. But in your case, it could be that you want to be serious because it's maybe something which is serious in your niche. Maybe you're teaching accounting to people, for example, which is quite a serious subject, or a legal firm, or, you know, whatever it may be. Each business will have different branding, so that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is your visuals of your business. So for example, your logo. What does your logo look like? You can even get one designed on Fiverr.com for just $5. That's Fiverr.com for just $5, and that is part of your branding. You know, what your logo is like. You can integrate that logo into your videos. Even at the beginning of this video, I had the thing come up that said Digital Prosperity, James Francis, founder and CEO. You know, that is part of my branding, my company's feel, and the you know, the visuals of my company. You know, the colors that we use, that's part of the branding as well. Because then you associate that logo and the colours that we use with what we do. And also, whenever you see me as a person or hear my name, James Francis, hopefully you think, oh, that's the guy who does information marketing, or, you know, selling digital products or services. You know, hopefully you kind of associate that with what I do. So that's part of branding as well. It's associating certain colours and certain feels and names with what you do, so customers remember you a lot better over your competition, which kind of answers the earlier question we had as well. So hopefully that makes sense. The last question we have in this specific video, I may do another one. I will also record lots of other videos in the future based on the questions we've had, because I know we've had quite a lot of questions, and I want to cover as many of them as I can, just to be fair to everyone. So number 10, the last question is, I'm trying to do affiliate marketing before I create my own product. How can I prevent losing a customer to another person through different affiliates promoting the same offer? Which is a great question. And I would recommend actually positioning yourself as somebody who is unique above your competitors or your affiliates. And the way to do that, as I just mentioned with the whole branding positioning thing, using your own logos, using your own colour scheme, that sort of stuff, the more important way of doing that is to have some free content which is unique to you, and at least has some sort of marketing hook which is unique to you. Now, this is a fundamental of an online business. You need to have a sales funnel which takes people through you know, a squeeze page, opting into your list for some kind of great quality free content which doesn't give away the farm, but it helps them with one specific area which is unique to you due to the way you positioned it and created it with your marketing hook. Again, going back to the example of, you know, instead of how to train your dog, 5 steps to stop your dog from barking, for example, which is unique to you. And that in itself will get your affiliate, you know, the people you attract as an affiliate to see you as somebody more valuable than the other affiliates who are just copy and pasting swipe email templates, and just using the exact same strategies that all the other affiliates are using. And there's no reason why the customer should buy from those people over the other people doing the exact same thing. Whereas if you're doing something different, they build that relationship with you, not only in the short term, and they'll buy through based on that, but also in the long term. If you promote something else to them in the future, they'll be much more likely to buy from you because of the positioning and everything else you've set up in your marketing, because of the relationship that you've generated because of that, if that makes sense. Okay, so it's all based on how you portray yourself to your customers. Be unique, show your personality. Don't just be somebody who copies and pastes email templates based on the affiliate tools that people give you sometimes when you sign up to promote an offer as an affiliate. Don't just use them. Create your own. Always create your own. That way you develop your own brand and your own writing style at the same time as selling the offer, which helps you in the short term and the long term to make more sales. And everyone else doesn't do that. They're too lazy. So be proactive and do your own stuff. And that way you will be able to build a following at the same time as selling these offers at a much higher conversion rate than everyone else as well. And another thing you can do as well is offer a bonus as well. So as a little bonus tip here, no pun intended, you can actually give away some sort of product, even a PLR offer that you've rebranded from somebody else, which is an offer you get the licensing rights to, and you can call it your own product and rename it to, or edit it or whatever to suit your own branding and your own name. You can give that away to people as a bonus for buying through your link. So you can just say, when you buy this, when you buy this product through my link, just hit reply to this email with your order confirmation number, and I'll email you over a product which helps you to achieve this specific goal, whatever that product helps you with. And that's a great tip as an affiliate. You can just give away these bonuses to people who buy through your link. And you probably see this all the time from other marketing gurus who promote launches and give incentives for people to buy through their link over everyone else's link. And that's what makes a massive difference when it comes to getting people to buy through your link over everyone else's as well. Just adding more value, not necessarily adding more stuff, but adding more value. So it's all about the value of the content, what it's worth to people, how much of a change that's going to help them with in their business or in their life, whatever niche you're in. And again, I should say that this applies to any niche as well. So hopefully that helps. Those were the 10 questions that we received initially. I may, again, make another video like this one. So let me know in the comment section below this video if you would like to see another video in this style. We have plenty of other questions to go through. I will be recording more videos like this, maybe some other parts of the house or out somewhere gallivanting or whatever. So I will record a lot more content like this. So again, let me know if you want to see that sort of content coming up as well in the comment section below. And have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.